Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for week 72 of the new Build Your Stash and Craft. Today we are going to make decorative glass jars, and so you can use any type of jar. I have like this little jar here that my husband got some honey in, which is really cute, so you could use that too. Or this is just a plain old jelly jar. Whatever type of jar you have works for this project, and they're great for storing things. Now, I make a lot of these glass jars because I love to store beads in them. And so here, well, this is just like a, well, I'll leave it on there. This is just a bracelet that I put on there, but here's one where I left a little window in the front so I could see what's inside. And that one is done with masking tape, that's how we're going to do it today. This one I just painted, and I painted it with a peacock feather on here. It says follow your dreams on here. And then this was a polymer clay feather here. And I used spackle for walls to put on the top. And that's what I did on this one too. This is spackle. And then because the spackle was on there, I put beads around the edge before it dried. And this was a pin, like a pin to pin on your clothing. And then this one, I also used the spackle with this shape behind is foam, a little plaster face. I put beads on the top and on the side and in the groove. And the reason that I like to put the beads in the groove, because to me it makes it look a little bit less like a jelly jar and a little bit more like a, I don't know, just a container. I just like it better. It brings out that indentation that you have in all jars. It just kind of makes it all more one level. So but it's simple enough, and I like doing them. Recently, I've been doing them with masking tape. So, and the thing is, like, you don't have to try and get the sticky off. You don't have to do any of that because it's going to be covered up with masking tape. So if you're going to paint it, you don't have to worry about that. And so instead of trying to get it smooth to give yourself a smooth surface to paint on, I just take my masking tape and just put it on there and kind of twist it this way or that way, and then just press it down. And it gives you all of these really great wrinkles. Now, the wrinkles do make it so that you have to, you may have to go in and paint it a few times to make sure that you get in those creases of the wrinkles, that you get paint in there, because you may paint the whole thing. And then once you look at it later, you may say, oh, I see masking tape there and I see masking tape there. And you just go in then and just put a little bit more paint on it. But the masking tape paints really nicely. And that's what I like about it. And I do have a thing about texture. I like texture. I like just the feel of, just having texture on things. I remember when I was younger at work, one of my employees came up and said, she was just standing there talking to me at my desk, and she said, why do you rub your cups? Because I would sit there with my coffee cup and I would rub across my coffee cup like this. And I said, I didn't notice I did it. I really didn't. I had no idea that I did it. So, I thought about, well, what am I doing? And I thought, well, I was rubbing it. My cup had texture on it. And I always picked, there was like 3 cups at the office that all had texture on them. And so I would pick one of those 3 cups, and I didn't even know I was doing it until she asked me. And then I noticed the next day when I went to get one of the other, to get a cup, it was like, oh, this has texture on it too. So then I looked specifically at the 3rd one that I used, because it was always like 3 that I used that were my favorites. And sure enough, every one of them had texture on it. So I don't know why. I just have a thing. I like texture. And, some people, they like everything to be just really nice and smooth. And if you do like that, well, then go ahead and put alcohol ink on your jar. Or paint it, this paint is very nice and smooth. It's got like the look of texture, but it doesn't have any texture on it. And then this one, this was actually black, black permanent marker. And I'm not going to take all of these out, but because it's a little hard to see. But so it was just black permanent marker, and I just kind of scribbled it on the glass, and then I took a little rubbing alcohol on a sponge, and I just tapped all over it, and it went ahead and it separated the black permanent marker, just like alcohol ink. Made it look like alcohol ink separates when you put alcohol with it. With this one, I put masking tape just around here to have a straight line and to give me something to paint easier. Because usually if you're going to paint your jar, you have to usually use a couple of coats of acrylic paint before you really start doing your decorating. You want to make sure that you get it done smoothly, like get it covered as much as you want it covered before you start putting whatever you may want to paint on there. You could also put napkins on there. You can cover them with anything really. But so once you get the whole jar covered, then what I like to do is put some kind of texture on the top. And I don't do that when it's on the jar because I don't want to get whatever it is I'm using on my jar. Now, a lot of times it depends on what I'm doing. Whenever I did the spackle, I didn't because I couldn't take it off when I was done. If you use hot glue, you can do the top, wait for that to dry, and then take the top off. Or you can just go ahead and do the top like it is. So I cover the whole thing with masking tape. I covered the top with something of texture. And again, now I could just glue something to the top of this. I don't have anything here really to glue to it. But so I'm just going to just put some texture on top of here with my glue. And hot glue is paintable. And so this way, I have texture on the top that I can paint, and I can highlight it with some nail polish or some mica powder, something like that. And then you just decide how you want to decorate it. Now I am only putting texture on here. I don't have any kind of a pattern or anything, and you need to be careful because this is metal and it does get hot. So you need to be careful if you're holding on to it, not to let it get hot enough to burn you. And I will go ahead and let this just dry like this before I do the sides. So I'm just going to do that. And maybe I would like to have one of these masks on top. So if I just clip this off, and this is just my beaded string. And I use these mostly to hold my beaded string. So I can put that one right on top, and then later on, go ahead and paint everything, including that. Or I could have left it gold, not put it on yet, painted the whole thing, and then glued it on later. So once I get my top all textured, then I start painting. So this one here, this spider web is just hot glue. I just did like some little zigzags on the side and a little kind of spider web on top. And then I just painted it brown and then put a little blue paint on it to just, give it a little interest, give it a little different color. So, and then what I usually do with my tops is I like to seal them somehow. And so you can either seal them with regular, like you can use Mod Podge, you can use water glue, you can use whatever you want. I like to use something like our nail polish because that goes ahead and it seals it and it gives it a shine. I don't particularly care that my jars themselves have a shine, but I do like the top. I'm going to leave that on here while I'm doing this. I do like the top to have a little bit of a shine. So I just have some of our sparkly nail polish that I got quite a while ago for the series. And I'm just going to go in, and you just want to make sure if you're going to put the shine on it, you don't have to, this is glittery nail polish. So I don't need to make sure that there's glitter everywhere, but this glitter is suspended in a clear nail polish. So I do want to make sure that I do get the nail polish everywhere, or it will have, wherever I don't get the nail polish, it will be a matte finish. And I'm looking for a nice shiny finish. So you just want to make sure that you do get it everywhere. And the nice thing about nail polish that I really love is it dries really fast. And so that's, that's one of the benefits that I like about nail polish. I like the fact that it costs $1 at the Dollar Tree. You can get it sometimes at garage sales, or secondhand stores. And being that you're not using it, on your nails, it doesn't really, you're using it for crafting. So it doesn't matter what brand it is, or, or what type it is, whether it lasts a long time, or, that type of thing. Because you're just putting it on your projects. And on your projects, they don't get knocked around like your nails do. Although I do have to say that all of my jars that I have like this, they've all taken a bit of a beating. So, because I usually set them like up on top of a shelf or something that's more, it's actually like a little bookcase that I had them on for quite a while, and that was about like shoulder level or something, and I constantly was knocking them off the shelf. Now I do have carpeted floors, so they weren't hitting a hard floor, but they were hitting the floor quite often. Or I'd grab 2 or 3 all at once because I wanted to open them all to decide which beads I wanted. And, so I'd grab 2 or 3 and I'd be trying to carry them with everything else, and then I dropped them, and, so they really have taken quite the beating. And I did notice I've got a little bit of red on here where I didn't get the paint. But now that I'm already doing this, I'm not going to worry about it right now. If I decide later that I really can't stand it, I'll go back in and paint it again and then put some more nail polish on it. But being that I hadn't noticed it before now, I'm thinking that it's probably not going to bother me. I'm not going to notice it. So, and I'm using this as a storage unit for my supplies. It's pretty, and yet it holds a lot. I love to use these type of beads on projects. They edge things really well because everything is spaced perfectly. It all stays together. You're not going to have to worry about, like if the string breaks and all the beads are going to fall off. So I do use them quite often. And I like to have different shapes and different styles. I don't like just the standard ones that are the regular size, as well as, things that have shape to them. But whenever I see them, I just pick them up. If I see them at a garage sale or something, usually they've got a whole bunch of them all put together for a really low price because nobody really wants them. But they do work good in crafting, especially if you paint them. And that's the thing. I like to paint them in that way. Yes, I think that people could figure out what they are, but they just don't look like the standard plain old, round bead Mardi Gras beads. So once I go ahead and I get it done up the way that, get the top done up, then I'm just going to paint the side. Once the side is painted, that's when I go in and put my beads on once I get a coat of paint on the side. So because I put this on here, I really should have put it on my sample one, because now I have to take the top off and I'm going to have to stick my hands in that fingernail polish. But we'll just hope it's not too wet. And it's pretty wet and the top is on pretty tightly. There we go. Okay, I'm going to have to redo the sides and live with fingernail polish on my hands for a little bit. Grab a paper towel, at least that'll help a little bit till I can get something to clean it up. So, and then again, like there was a piece of masking tape that was a little bit sticky. It was folded back instead of stuck onto the jar. That's okay, because once you put the paint on it, it will be all right. It will go ahead and it'll stick, and you can stick it down, or if you get the paint on it, the paint will make it so it's not sticky anymore. So if you have a piece that's sticking off and you get the paint on it and think, oh no, it's not going to ever stick down, it's okay, because it won't be sticky anymore, so you won't have to worry about it. And now, let me see. Okay, I have to go grab a paintbrush really quick because I forgot to bring out a paintbrush. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I just really didn't want to have to try and add the videos together. I did get a new editor, but I'm not used to it yet, and so it always scares me to do the video and then possibly not be able to upload it. So I try now to get them all done in just one video. So with the tape, you want to go back and forth and up and down to try and fill those grooves. And like I said, you may think that you've got the whole thing, and then after it dries, you will find places where you didn't get it. And that's okay, and that's just pretty much, you're going to know that that's going to happen. So just so you know that you'll need to let it dry and then go back in a bit and touch it up a little bit. And I actually should have put my beads on. If I want them to be colored the same size, same color as the jar, I should have put them on before I started painting. I haven't made one in a while, so my steps are getting a little out of order, but that's okay, because this just lets you know there's no perfect or totally wrong way to do anything. There might be an easier way to do things, but so long as you get to where you want to be, it doesn't matter how you get there. So a lot of times people will tell you that there's only one way to do something, and there's not. You can do it however it's easiest for you. If you make a mistake, you just go in and figure out, okay, how am I going to just rectify this mistake? Because 99% of the time they can be. And so, you don't fret that just because you didn't put your beads on yet, now you've painted it, now, oh no. So I'm just going to stop like here, and we'll put those beads on. Because I'm using hot glue to put them on, it's going to dry right away, or, quickly. So we'll just put some hot glue in here, and I believe that this is measured to the right diameter. And it isn't quite, so I'll just have to get another one. I think I'm going to see if I can find the end of that gold one. That's not long enough either. Okay, so let's say you have one that's not long enough. Like, it's not that you cut it the wrong size, but you only have one. And it's just not quite long enough. You just have a couple of pieces. So we are just going to glue this here. Now, the one thing is you want to keep it to the, edge of your indentation, because you do want to be able to put the lid on when you're done. So you don't want to get it up into the rings of where you have to screw the top on. And when you're doing hot glue, especially something that's going to be handled a lot, like this is going to be handled quite often, just do a little bit at a time, so that the glue does not get hard and start to set up before you get to the end. Because you just want to make sure that it sticks well. And if you let the glue start to get hard, then you're going to be taking off and on the lid, and it could let loose. So, and sometimes I'll even do hot glue, and I'll put a little bit of our super glue from the Dollar Tree. Like every other one, I'll do some hot glue and then a little super glue here or there. Okay, so now I have this much space left. That's probably where I cut off the little face. So I am going to say, if I put this one here and one, so I need one of the masks and one little ball, and that will be enough to fill that space. So I'm just going to put some more hot glue right there. And again, because we're going for texture, It's okay if some of that hot glue sticks out a little bit or gets here or there. It's not going to be noticeable because we're not trying to get a big flat surface. So we're going to put that on there. And then just let that dry. Now this one right here is very rocky. Like it rocks back and forth because it doesn't hardly have any area touching the edge of the jar. And it's that one each time. The flat ones and the balls are doing just fine. But that one, whatever that one is. So I'm just going to put a little hot glue under there to grab it. That one seemed to be okay. Alrighty. So now we've got that glued on. And so we can just go ahead and paint it. And just grab a card here. And just finish painting this. And you only really need to paint it up to where the grooves are to put your lid on. Because you don't, if you paint the grooves, they're just going to become unpainted anyways. And maybe it would have been easier for me to put one coat of black on first on the whole jar, so I'm not trying to get up in and around here. But a lot of times I will only do like one coat because then I come in and just do a highlight on all the wrinkles and all the bumps and everything to just highlight them. And so if you're only going to do one coat, then you have to have the beads on first. Because then when you go to paint it, you're covering up any of the hot glue that's there. Because you don't want that showing either. But I'm thinking this one is definitely going to need 2 coats. Around the beads especially. And I like dark colors. So I do a lot of brown and black. I do have some colored ones. I have some colored ones that I was going to make for an art fair. And then I wound up just keeping them. And so, but they're definitely not my favorites. The one thing about having different colors is I know which ones are which sometimes. I know what's in each one sometimes. Sometimes I forget, but especially when I'm really using these beads a lot. And like I said, you can glue these beads down the edge of a journal. You can glue them across a canvas. You can glue them, I like to glue them like in a circular, like a swirl on a canvas. They look really quite cool. And then you cover them with the paint and it just really does look awesome. Okay, so now that I've got the beads pretty much covered, I'm going to go back in and just kind of flatten out the paint a little bit so that it's not filling all of the grooves in my beads. Because then if you go to highlight it with another color, that color will pick up the grooves in your beads and make them stand out a little bit better. So there we go. And now I did a brown top and then I did a black bottom. They don't really go together. But this one, I put him on top and my hot glue is dry. So then I will just do this one. And I will paint this one maybe brown or maybe blue. And this one, I'm just going to do this and let it dry, and then do it again. Just to make sure that I do have the black paint everywhere that I need it to be. And sometimes if your paint doesn't want to stick to the jar top, you can use a little bit of sandpaper and just sand it off some, and that will help your paint stick. It will also help your glue stick, or you know, whatever you're putting on there, because it's not a shiny surface that you're trying to stick to. Whenever you're doing something on a shiny surface, even like this card here, it's better off to give it just a quick sand. You don't have to sand off all the color or anything else. Just give it a quick sand so that your paint will stick, or your glue will stick, or whatever it is that you want to put on it, whether it be some kind of texture paste or... And again, for texture paste, a nice one, cheap one to get for texture paste is just spackle, wall spackle. Works great. And it sticks really pretty good too. All of these are wall spackle, and they're the ones that have been dropped. But it sticks so well because it's made to stick to the wall. So since these are the same jar, I'm going to switch lids, and I will use that one. I'll paint it a different color. And maybe I will go ahead and I'll leave part of this open so that I can see inside my jar to see what's there. And to do that, you just go ahead and I usually draw a line with a permanent marker. And then I just only go right up to that line. And then I'm just careful when I paint the edges. But I think that these turn out really well, and they're very useful. Like I said, I use them for so many different things. All of them are... My arm doesn't really work well on opening. There we go. Opening jars yet. So see, here's some really... Like these ones hang down and they're purple, and these are really kind of cool sometimes just to leave them like they are. I don't always paint them, but most of the time I do. And it works well to spray paint them too. You can spray paint them, but again, these are just little round ones. So that's the big thing. It's like if you can just get different sizes, if you just get different sizes and different shapes. So these are some little ones here, and then like some octagon shaped ones here. So they're just really fun. And these are just paper beads that got squished flat and then looped together like this to make a bracelet with some little charms underneath. I don't really wear bracelets much, so it's there like that. I use some corrugated cardboard every so often. I guess maybe just 2 of them, made some little corrugated cardboard beads. But I like to make bracelets, but I don't really wear them, so they usually wind up hanging on something just so I can look at them. And that's the thing about doing your artwork. You don't have to do it for any specific reason. You don't have to have it as a gift. You don't have to make it as a storage unit. You can just make something because you feel like making something. And then you decide what to do with it, whether it's just set it here or there so you can look at it and say, oh, I like that. That really turned out pretty. Or give it to somebody, even though you didn't know who you were going to give it to when you gave it. But just remember, creating is just for the fact of creating. It's not for what you're going to do with it later. You don't have to have a gallery to put it in. You don't have to have any reason to make it other than you feel like doing something, and so you do it. And then that's the whole point, because that's when you're going to enjoy it. So there we go. They do turn out nice, and because I have all of these completely done, I figured it would be okay to show you the finished product and just show you how to get there, but not finish it because we've got to let it dry. And that's the biggest thing, is you have to let them dry, and then you can highlight them. And to highlight them, this is pretty dry. We'll highlight this one a little bit, and you can just do it. Now I've already got the my shine on there, so I will have to do it again because my acrylic paint does not wind up shiny. But you can just, trying to think of what color I have here in front of me that might look okay. It's kind of a maroon. This might look good. But if you have gold paint, if you have gold fingernail polish, you can use that. But to highlight, let's say you're going to highlight after this is painted, it's still going to look just like that under paint. But so then you can just take a little bit of paint and just rub it. And I am not good at doing this highlight part because you're supposed to have a really light hand and just barely touch it. And I always push too hard, so be light. And make sure, the biggest thing is, make sure that don't just tap some paint and put it on there, because it's going to wind up really getting a big, big smudge. So really get some paint on your finger and then really basically wipe it off. You just want to barely a little bit, and then you still have to have a really light touch in order to not just get a huge amount of paint when you're just trying to do a highlight. But it's okay if you get some paint down in those areas instead of just at the top. That's really okay. To me, I don't mind that at all. If you just want it on the tops, you may be really more careful or use some kind of a super stiff brush and just barely touch the tops. Make sure that you're not going in where you can get paint all over down in between. And doing the highlighting part can become, if you want it to be really well, some people do it really, really good. And again, you're talking about practice makes perfect. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. See, this is very flat, this brush, and it's stiff. It's not soft. So that made it a little easier to just pick up just the tops of the wrinkles instead of getting it down in between like I did when I was trying to rub with the red. So, and either way, now I can just go ahead and I'm going to paint this after I get it done. I'm going to paint it brown. So it's okay that I put that on there to show you. But let's say I put that on there and I just didn't like it. It was an accident. What am I going to do? I'm going to paint it brown. So that's the thing. There's never a right or wrong way, and there's always a way to fix things. So that is it for today. I don't have next week's stuff picked out yet because I think I know what I want to do, but I have to do it first before I tell you what to pick up to make sure it's going to work. So hopefully I will be back in the next day or two to show you what we'll need for next week, so that'll give you time to get it. But like I said, I'm not sure. It's just something that's in my head that I think will work, and I want to try it. But if it doesn't work, I don't want to send you out buying the things that I don't know what else we'd use them for. So thank you very much for stopping by. I hope that you like these little art jars. They really are super fun to make and super easy to make. So just remember that if you have little things that you want to, that you need to store, these work really great. And you can use plastic jars, peanut butter jars, these are jelly jars, any kind of jars that you have work really great. And once you do this, they look great sitting around your art room. And you're not just, to me, looking at this is not pretty. Now, actually, those are quite pretty. But the little yellow ones that were in one of these, you know, I mean, you know, they're not the prettiest. And so I like to kind of have them hidden, but I still know where they are, and they're still here. So thank you very much for stopping by. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.